Can the world stop Iran? John Bolton, former U.S. ambassador to the United States and a Fox News contributor, joins us now as he does every Sunday morning. Good morning, Ambassador.
Good morning. Glad to be here.
Well, I mean, there's more blah, 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 blah from Ahmadinejad again, and the talks just broke down. They just don't seem to want to play ball.
No, and why should they? They're making progress toward their long-term objective of getting a deliverable nuclear weapons capability. And unfortunately, many leaders in the West, in the U.S. and Europe, don't seem to get the point that Iran uses negotiations for its own purposes, not to try and reach a deal.
Well, here's what the head of the Iranian delegation to the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, says. I mean, look at this. This is pretty blunt. Resolution, sanctions, threats, computer virus, nor even a military attack will stop uranium enrichment in Iran. How do we counter that?
Well, you take everything Iran says with a grain of salt. I do think that the Stuxnet virus had some impact on the Iranian program, but not a serious impact. Remember, at the end of last year, Iran already had enough low-enriched uranium by IAEA accounts for 4 nuclear weapons. That's where you get that report that they could have one simple bomb in perhaps 5 months because they just need to take it to the next stage up. So Iran's progress continues, and that's just based on what we know. I think it's very important when you hear estimates of when Iran will have a bomb and so on, to recognize that there's a lot we don't know about what's happening in Iran, and that can't be good news.
Well, you talk about a lot that we don't know what's happening. What do you suspect is happening, and when do you think potentially they could have a bomb?
Well, remember, the Obama administration itself in the spring of last year said that with a crash program, Iran could have a nuclear weapon in about a year. I still think that estimate's right. I think it could be less than that now. I just don't think Iran feels the need to engage in a crash program. And what they're doing, I think, systematically, and have been doing for some time, is steadily expanding their nuclear infrastructure, building redundant facilities, hidden, hardened facilities, all of which will have the effect of making any kind of potential preemptive military strike a lot less likely to be effective. The goal here is not just what date they can get a bomb, but how extensive their nuclear infrastructure is, and it's getting bigger all the time.
So clearly the issue that you raise is that even if there potentially is an attack one day, may not get all of their infrastructure.
Well, that's exactly right, and I think the danger is we may be very close to the point where an attack would put Israel and the United States or both in the worst of all possible worlds, gaining the opposition from who oppose such an attack, not really accomplishing its objective. So, and that is setting back Iran's nuclear program very substantially. So I think this window is closing here, and I think Iran every day gets perilously close to that objective of getting those nuclear weapons, which will change the balance of forces and security in the Middle East forever.
Can they be stopped?
Well, I think they still can be at this point, but they're not going to be stopped by negotiation. They're not going to be stopped by sanctions, and they won't even be stopped by computer viruses. It's going to take a preemptive military attack, I'm afraid. I just don't see one in the offing either by Israel or the United States, meaning most likely Iran gets nuclear weapons, and sooner rather than later.
That's a chilling scenario and possibility from John Bolton this morning about what could lie ahead for our globe. Ambassador Bolton, as always, good to see you. Thank you.
Glad to be here.
Jamie?
Eric, thanks. Still ahead, a state trooper now under investigation after a dashboard camera films him apparently beating a female driver during a traffic stop. That story's straight ahead for you, and it's turning into the big behind-the-scenes question in Washington. Who will be sitting next to whom at the State of the Union? Details ahead on some of the odd pairings, including these two fiery lawmakers.
Stop whining and get the bill passed. That's the problem.
No, this is a phony hypocrisy. They could pass the bill right now if they wanted.
We did last night. 94% of Democrats. What percentage of Republicans? Nice work. Know the species.
mark. Again, much of the day will be below freezing, but there is some hope here. We do have some moderation coming. We take a look at the south. We have a lot of wet weather happening here. Some areas could pick up a couple inches of rain. Also a chance for some thunderstorms. We're going to hear from our severe weather expert, Dr. Greg Forbes, as well on the possibility for some tornadoes, some severe weather throughout parts of the southeast. Meanwhile, parts of the upper Midwest are still very cold. We still have a chance for a few snow showers mixed in as well. Mainly in the morning in Bismarck, Minneapolis, it's going to be cold, 21 degrees. That's all we're going to have. And then in the west, things are looking pretty quiet and still looking good in Los Angeles. Crystal?
And coming up, we're going to head to the Digital Media Center to show you what you're all saying out there. Everyone's complaining about the cold. We'll share some of your comments. But first, we have a new outlook that has just been released today.
Your reign of greatness is over, Team DSRL.
Some tough times lately. The new way to stick to your New Year's resolution of getting to the gym every day, but it could cost you if you screw up. The new